In this video, we discuss why most people still claim Social Security at age 62. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
There's a report that comes out in February or March of every year called the Social Security Administration's Annual Statistical Supplement. This report gives a whole host of information, data really, from the previous year. Things like the number of Social Security recipients who filed at different ages, which is what we're going to talk about now, at least a piece of that. The COLA adjustment from the previous year and the previous years, the number of people who are currently drawing Social Security, and a whole host of other information. If you're looking for something to put you to sleep, this document will probably do it. What's fascinating about this report, at least for us Social Security geeks, is trying to figure out why people do the things that they do. For example, 29% of recipients file at age 62. The next largest category is at full retirement age, and that's at 16%, and then it goes down from there. Now, I'm going to give you a piece of data that you need for this video. It's not a complicated one, but it's one you need to know. In 1983, that was the last time there was an adjustment to the actuarial calculation for reductions and credits, meaning how much do you get if you wait, and how much do you lose if you claim early rather than full retirement age. 1983. To put this in perspective, in 1985, 2 years later, that was the first year that tobacco companies were required to specifically label the diseases that were caused by use of their products. Before that, it was a nondescript warning. Add to that, doctors are far better today than in 1983 at helping an individual determine their lifespan. Of course, they're not perfect, but imaging is much better, biomarkers are much better. All of the medical stuff is more precise than it was back in 1983. It probably doesn't surprise you then that the average lifespan today is 3 years longer than in 1983. There are no guarantees, of course, but people can get a pretty good idea on how to course correct earlier today than back in 1983. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Because people today will say that age 62, age 65, age 67, age 70 doesn't matter because the system was designed to be neutral and the rest is a throw of the dice. That was true back in 1983, but the actuarial reductions and credits have not been adjusted since 1983. So it doesn't matter anyway, the system was designed to be neutral no matter what age you claim Social Security isn't one that I'm going to use. It isn't a comment that I'm going to use. Let's just say that there are more convincing reasons to file at age 62, and there are a lot of them, but that isn't one that is the most powerful. All right. Why don't we talk about the ones that might make a lot of sense? Let's talk about the first one. Coincidentally, advances in medical technology. Today, there is a much more likely chance that your doctor will be able to give you a good steer on the direction your life is heading. They may not be able to be specific, but they can give you a much better picture than they could back in 1983. And there are some bad medical conditions that have predictable medical outcomes. That was true back in 1983 as well, but the list is longer and more precise today. So people who've gotten some negative news from their doctor look at the situation and they look at break even, which we'll talk about in just a moment, and they say that it's highly unlikely that I'm going to make it to the break even point, so I'm going to claim early. What is break even? It's where payments from the different choices, 62, 67, even 70, converge, and at that point, whether you chose 62 or 67 or 67 or 70, it doesn't matter. You would have received the exact same amount. But if you live beyond break even, you would have been better off choosing the later date to file. If someone doesn't live to break even, then choosing the earlier filing date might make sense if their decision is based on one thing, which is just to optimize the amount of income that they have coming into their life. Let me explain this because this is very important. Let's say that we're going to compare break even between age 62 and 67. This is a break even chart, very much like the one the SSA used to publish on their website. Here, the chart shows break even between age 62 and age 67. And you'll see that they converge at age 78 years and 8 months. So if someone was making a decision for their own benefit between age 62 and full retirement age, then they'd receive more money by choosing full retirement age if they live beyond 78 years and 8 months. Conversely, if they didn't live until 78 years and 8 months, they'd be smarter to choose the earlier filing age. And if the choice was between age 67 and 70, They would have received more money by waiting to age 70 if they lived past age 82 and 6 months. Now, if medical technology gave the patient a clear steer that they weren't going to make it to 78 years and 8 months, if you're just optimizing for total dollars in while the recipient is still alive, earlier is better than later. This is particularly true if they're single or they're the lower earner in the relationship and don't need to worry about the survivor benefit. More on that in a moment. Gang, the decisions around Social Security are some of the most important decisions in a retiree's life, and there are several decisions that need to be made along the way. If you're struggling to figure out how it all fits together, or if you're overwhelmed by negative and often contradictory news, don't just do what a friend or family member did because their situation is different than yours, and this is a lifetime decision. I just released a course called Social Security Simplified to help you make the best decisions for your Social Security. And as a thank you to early adopters, I'm giving 50% off the cost of the course for the month of August 2025. If this is of interest to you, go to holyschmidt.com/social security, and you can find all the information about the course and the discount. The next reason to claim Social Security at age 62 might be because the primary insured is married to a much older spouse. Let me explain. I was talking with a student in the course that I just mentioned a few days ago, and he told me that he had a much older wife, and he was the primary earner in the relationship. And she didn't really have any of her own Social Security benefit because she had been married before and never really worked. Now, here is his dilemma. She is 12 years older than him, so when he reaches age 62, the minimum age he can file for Social Security, she will be age 74. The spousal benefit is a lot like the primary insurance amount, by the way, in that it grows the longer you wait. But unlike the primary insurance amount, which can grow up until age 70, the spousal benefit stops growing when the spouse reaches full retirement age. Let's say for the purposes of this discussion, that's age 67. At full retirement age, the spouse can get 50% of the primary insurance amount. But it's capped at 50%, so after age 67, it won't grow anymore. But here's the catch. The spouse cannot file for his or her spousal benefit until the primary insured files for hers or his. Let's assume that her primary insurance amount is age 67. That means that by the time he reaches age 62, his minimum age to file for Social Security, she will have missed 7 years of spousal benefit. So all of a sudden, that break-even calculation that we just talked about, which looks perfectly acceptable for a healthy single male age 62, looks like you're leaving a lot of money on the table in many cases, particularly if your spouse is much older, because her payment is based on her filing age, not his, and so he can claim early and she still gets 50% if she waits until her full retirement age. But in this case, she's 7 years beyond full retirement age. Similarly, children's benefits go away once they become adults. And with the exception of a child who's disabled, which has specific rules around that issue, there's a clock that's ticking. And once the child reaches adulthood, they stop receiving child benefits. And receiving the dependent benefits are predicated on the fact that the primary insured files for his or her own primary insurance amount. The next point is that it's not all about the money for you and you want to enjoy life early in retirement. This choice might make sense for you if you've got your late stage costs covered. I will caution you though that oftentimes when someone has energy and they are retired, they're not fully retired. Oftentimes they're working part-time. They're doing what they loved to do or what they wanted to do before, but it was just not in the cards because, well, they had to pay the bills. Well, if you're still working, there are income thresholds that you have to follow. Otherwise, if you don't follow those income thresholds, then you will have to give back part of your Social Security payment, at least for a period of time until you reach full retirement age. And then your Social Security payment is increased based on the additional money that you gave back to reflect the money that you gave back. The last point, perfectly valid but not the most powerful of the reasons, is that life has been hard and you just need the money. Now, academically anyway, this is the least powerful of the arguments out there. In fact, I got asked on a Social Security live stream last Tuesday, why do you keep saying the word academically? Well, let me explain. If you're filing for Social Security early because you just need the money, that means you probably have no backup plan, meaning you don't have a healthy balance in a 401k, you don't have a pension. This is all you have. Now, if that's the reason, it solves an immediate problem, but it creates a bigger problem later. And frankly, at that point in time, age 62, for example, you have more energy and you're more clear-headed than you will be later in most cases. So if you have the option to work and let your Social Security payment continue to grow, it might not be a bad idea to do so. And if you are still working and you see Social Security as an option to make your life better, remember what I just said about working while collecting Social Security. In 2025, you can only earn $1,950 per month in the year that you file for Social Security and you start drawing Social Security. Anything beyond that, you have to give back $1 for every 2 over that amount every single month. And the next calendar year, it's not measured monthly, by the way, it's measured annually, and it's $23,400. But in year one, calendar year one, it's $1,950 per month. So if you're still working and you think Social Security is going to help you bridge the gap, understand that you can only earn so much before you have to start giving some of your Social Security payment back. Also, if you're confused about Social Security or you just want to get more educated on it, don't forget about my course, Social Security Simplified. Go to holyschmidt.com/Social Security. The 50% off early adopter discount is in place through the month of August. Also, if you like this video, check out that video, 5 Social Security benefits that unlock at full retirement age. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.